What's up, guys? Hope everyone is doing well. In this video, I'm going to be going over the usual updates for Bitcoin. First off, to start it here, I have the total crypto market value chart pulled up here. And quickly, the first thing that I want to, really the only thing that I want to talk about for this chart here is if we focus in on the RSI, as we can see down here, I want to note this little range right here, very similar to something that I pointed out on the on a weekly chart for Bitcoin in the most recent prior video, which I'll update later on. But as we can see here, there are these two main points back December 5th, 2022, September 11th of 2023, where we can connect this trend line. We can denote this little range, which I have here in purple, and we can see that the RSI, in terms of the total crypto market value, is just very recently and just a tad bit down below this lower bound of this upper range, which going all the way back to the bull run of 2016 leading into 2017, we can see as soon as Bitcoin, or rather the entire value of the crypto market, crossed this line, just shortly after, as you can see here, Bitcoin had bottomed out, going sideways for a number of months, and then led into this massive, this gradual longer term bull market. As soon as it crossed below right here in this range, you can see on the prices that this was as the market value was topping out and beginning this bear market leading into 2018, very beginning of 2019, and that trend carries on out here. 2020, we can see as soon as it crossed below, Bitcoin was really beginning to start its bull market, and we can see each time that Bitcoin has crossed below that, again going back to 2018, and then right here, mainly late June 2021. This is when Bitcoin briefly crossed below and then went up to 69,000. Also, the market cap, as we can see, market value doing the same thing as well. This double top, setting a double top with a higher high after the first top. Anyways, there's still definitely, in general, for the entire market of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, all the altcoins included. Really, the general preface for this video, there's still definitely room to go lower. But here for the first chart for Bitcoin, the 6-hour chart, which I posted on the community tab a number of hours ago. Nothing really too much to update here other than this RSI down here at the bottom I did not touch on. If we look here at the price is trading within this updated trading range, sideways with a slight orientation towards the downside is what this trading range shows. If we look here right in this range right here, we can see this correlated to when Bitcoin is breaking the median of this trading range, heading back towards the upper bound, the upper portion, towards 70, 71, 72,000. You can see a similar, we see this trend resistance starting from approximately 72,000 late May of this year. So far, the RSI has been held down. It's been very, very oversold recently. If we look here at look at these two recent local lows right here, we can see a very steep negative slope right there for support. Whereas if we look here, RSI, it's essentially sideways. So that could be conveying a dying off of the bearish volume downtrend, which is in more short term, denoted by this red trend line right here. Crossing this is going to be very important for Bitcoin, and also getting back above this EMA right here, the 800 estimating moving average, the purple line, which it recently got rejected off of. But anyways, there could be potential for a double bottom to be forming right here. It also could continue to go lower, or it could continue to bounce up from here, assuming this is some sort of a bottom at the bottom of this overall trading range. But the 800 EMA right now sits flat at about 58.2 thousand. Depending upon when it's going to break above this red trend, this red bearish trend line, depends upon where it's going to cross, when it's going to cross, but I mean, roughly it sits anywhere from around 57.5 to about 59K. The median sits at around 60 to 62,000 to be broad, and this upper, the resistance of this overall sideways, slightly down range sits at somewhere at around 70,000, which should be very obvious as I mean, 70,000 not only in terms of technical analysis here, in terms of where support is. I mean, going back, we can see we saw resistance right here at 70K, resistance right here at approximately 70K, and 70K is just a psychological value. 70K is very important, bottom line, and also these other values that I mentioned along with this red trend line and the median as well. Moving into the daily chart right here, generally just shows the downtrend zone. If Bitcoin ends up closing below this, we could definitely head down to the lowest most range that I've been talking about in my videos going back roughly a month, maybe even a little longer at this point. This range right here, roughly within this highlight, anywhere around like 40 to, let's see, this right here is really 40 to 46,000. Right now, Bitcoin has wicked to as low as 53.7 thousand. It could end up going a little bit lower, down to around 50, 51, 52K, again, as I've been mentioning, in over a month at this point. But bottom of the barrel, assuming the Bitcoin has been in a bull market since approximately 15.5K at the end of kind of blinking here, at the end of 2022, that's what I thought it was, but anyways, approximately 43,000 is really bottom of the barrel. Again, I just want to reiterate that Bitcoin closes below this downtrend range. It's totally reasonable to see Bitcoin go down to around 42, 43, even maybe seeing some movement down to around approximately 40K. Now, I would think that's likely going to be some wicks. 40K is met to any degree, but again, just to draw the retracement, 40K, trying to get as close to 40K as I can. Sits at approximately 46%. Now, 20 to 40% is the historical drawdown percentage of healthy, constructive downtrends, as Bitcoin is in an overall long-term macro bull market. Although there's definitely room, especially as Bitcoin continues to age, as it matures, and it's just not as, not as really as healthy as it used to be. I mean, it's very similar, as I've said in the past. When Bitcoin is maturing, it's relatively similar to a human being. I mean, if you just think about Bitcoin is on a very long-term trek, a very long-term journey up a mountain, and as you continue as a human being to continue to traverse and to climb up a very large mountain, let's say Mount Everest, you're going to get a little tired here and there, and the longer it takes you to get this mountain, you're going to be tired, 3/4 the way up the mountain than you were like a fourth mountain. So your breaks are going to take a lot longer. And by that, what I mean is, as Bitcoin continues to mature and as Bitcoin continues to age, the dumps in a bull market are going to potentially be just a little bit worse than they have in the past. So it makes room for that, like approximately 45, maybe even 50% drop that Bitcoin could see, perhaps even now, or especially in the future, and further iterations of the bull market. But anyways, just to sum up this chart real quickly, 43,000 with some wicks down to 40,000 is my bottom of the barrel. If it starts to close on the daily higher below 40,000, then that is the point at which I personally will start to think to myself, well, perhaps this uptrend Bitcoin's been in since approximately $15.5 thousand is not a bull market, and it's just some sort of intermediate uptrend, and it's Bitcoin's going to go lower than 15.5 thousand, or it's going to retrace back down to, like, I don't know what, 25,000, maybe even 20,000. I don't know. Again, I don't know what's going to happen, but at the end of the day, I do think the range of approximately 40 to 43,000 will hold, assuming, again, this purple downtrend range right here is going to, if Bitcoin starts to close below it on the daily or higher. On this daily chart, again, we look here at the sideways range Bitcoin, so you can see right here, it's just ever so slightly below the sideways range. Again, could go down lower, 50, 54,000 or 40 to 43,000, but we're also encroaching upon, you look here, right here, right here, and right here. Each of these time, well, actually, just to be a little more clear here, these two are connected and similarity, and then the second, this third, and then this fifth one right here is that Bitcoin bounced on the trend line, black trend range zone. You can see ascending here. There's potential Bitcoin could be finding a local low soon. It could go a little bit lower, back down to around 53,000, well, more so around 52.7 to 53,000 if it decides to dip a little bit lower, or it could break below as it did this time right here and this time here on the chart. Look here at the RSI again. We can see each of these major 3 times where they really just really settle on this real quick here. I want to denote again, circle this range right here. This was the beginning of this uptrend, and assuming Bitcoin continues to go higher here up into the 6 digits, the beginning of the bull market. This range right here would have denoted the second best time, in my opinion, to buy Bitcoin after 15.5 thousand. You can see corroborating this. We look at the RSI, highly oversold, in the same range right here, and then currently Bitcoin is in the same range right here as well, as it's meeting this trend zone as I mentioned. So this daily chart, plenty of reason to think that there's a good potential Bitcoin's going to find a bounce soon, but again, totally continue to go lower. Really on this daily chart, which I went over in the last video, not too much to update, but I just want to continue to emphasize there is a bullish divergence forming right here along with this hidden bullish divergence. You can see this entire zone right here is an uptrend, with the RSI being in a downtrend in terms of the support. Very similar to this past area back here on the RSI and the price, as I went over a little bit more in the last video. But the last thing I want to show on this chart is the, look here, daily RVI again. I mean, we zoom in here just to show it very nicely. We can see the Bollinger Bands are fairly compressed. Zooming back out, we can see, going all the way back to the 15.5 thousand low. This says there's been only 3 zones right here, similar to the RSI, that have been this undervalued. And along with that, we see this, since June 25th, the RVI has been building up. As we can see, the price here has been only going down. So, definitely a good reason to think, again, that this could be the next, we could be sitting at the local low right before the final uptrend, the final move in this Bitcoin bull market. Assuming that, Bitcoin hasn't topped out and formed some sort of a double top here. On this other 2-day chart, again, just to continue to, well, actually, this is a daily chart. This is the first 2-day chart. Again, just to continue to point out the RSI and the RVI in terms of undervalue the Bitcoin seeing and overbought, these 2 statuses that Bitcoin are seeing. Again, each of these times, these major points in this uptrend, you can see on each of these indicators, essentially seeing the same thing, highly undervalued, highly oversold. We look here at the price. Bitcoin seems to be finding some sort of support right here. We see these wicks, the candles are starting to flatten out really at about approximately 56.9K. Although this could be very similar to what Bitcoin saw from right here in this zone right here. We could be going sideways for a little bit and then drop down even more. Again, like I said, first area being around anywhere from 50 to 53.5 thousand, and then below that, like I said, again, around, 40 to 43, approximately 40 to 43,000. Here on this 4-day chart, again, these Bollinger Bands, as I showed in the last video, each time this RSI gets below these Bollinger Bands, going all the way back to 15.5 thousand, and even going back and further in history, typically when this RSI is below these Bollinger Bands, Bitcoin is nearing a local low and beginning, and then we'll soon after that, once the local low is set, we'll continue to move towards the upside in a larger uptrend. But given this is a 4-day chart, one of the higher time frame charts I've been looking at a lot recently, I'm very interested to see what's going to happen. As you can see, this is basically what we see here. Zoom in a little bit. What we see here is essentially an ascending triangle, but flipped over the y-axis. So I find it very interesting. Really, I mean, if you go back in Bitcoin's history on the higher time frames, you can't really see this similar type of inverted across the y-axis ascending triangle. So I'm very intrigued to see if Bitcoin's going to respect this. It could go a little bit lower, really around 54, really approximately 58,000. Leaving room for these wicks, as you can see all throughout this support range so far throughout this trading zone. But I'm very interested to see how this is going to play out. If Bitcoin's going to find support along the support that it's seeing going all the way back to around mid of March of this year, if it's going to find support along this area. We can see there's this high bearish volume vector candle here, this black candle. If we go back all the way back to 15.5K, the beginning of this uptrend, what I think is a bull market, as soon as we see these black vector candles right here, this was the end of this very small term downtrend. The wick basically wicked down to the wick low. The next black high volume, the bearish volume vector candle we got was right here, August 17th. Essentially predicted the low right here, the second best time to buy in this uptrend. So now we see another one in this uptrend. Is this going to be the same scenario? It could likely be so, but also at the end of the day, Bitcoin can by all means continue to go even lower here. So this is the weekly chart that I went over in the last video. This is also in comparison to this total market cap chart that I went over. This is being the 4 weekly. This is the right here. This is the weekly. This 2-year trend range on the RSI has been substantially broken, as we can see down here on the RSI. Make it a little bit bigger. We can see that the RSI is, like I said, completely broken through this 2-year trend support. But it's also it's encroaching upon the Fibonacci extension that I have here down to the 0.272 at the 6th pivot point, which despite this uptrend zone being broken, if you look back here, those of you who saw the last video, there's a high similarity between this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It also goes back to the entire bear market 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We see this trend broken right here, this resistance trend broken. And so I think it's quite likely that Bitcoin might find a bounce here soon. I've been saying that, since about, Bitcoin was still going sideways, respecting about 60,000. Obviously, Bitcoin continued to go lower. But this is the next stop here. This is the 6th pivot point, and encroaching upon the 1.272. So totally could find support here, or it could continue to go lower. I mean, the fact that Bitcoin is sitting at approximately 56,000, and it's essentially as oversold as when Bitcoin was at approximately 25,000. I mean, that should speak volumes. I mean, Bitcoin is a little over double in price, but yet the RSI is essentially as oversold as it was when it was at 26,000. I mean, that's not anything trivial. It's something very important to note. And also on this weekly time frame, I mean, the volume vector zone below this one right here, which goes down to approximately 49.8 thousand. The next one below that goes all the way down to 30 to 27,000. I mean, it's totally possible. I mean, Bitcoin does not have to respect historical uptrend retracements in terms of the 20 to 40% rule that I've mentioned. I mean, Bitcoin, for all intents and purposes, could break all the way down to approximately like 28,000 and drop a 60%. I mean, it could totally do that. Bitcoin did that right here, leading into the March crash. It was a 72% drop, although in terms of my phase cycle structure, the theory really that started this entire channel, I don't think that's most likely. Again, it could totally happen. I try my best to speak in probabilities and whether or not this situation is more likely than the other, so on and so forth. But I mean, at this point, I still think 40 to 43,000 will hold if Bitcoin even goes down that low. There's also on this weekly, we see the 50 estimated moving average band. This has typically been respected going all the way back to the beginning of Bitcoin. looking at the bull markets. I mean, this goes all the way down around 47K. And then lastly here, I have a 2-month chart. Looking here at the price real quick, we see this uptrend again, validating around approximately 230,000, as I've been saying for over a year at this point, for the upcoming, or whenever the next bull market high is. But the main thing that I want to point out here is this RSI. We see this Fibonacci channel as Bitcoin has gone up in an uptrend, a macro uptrend since 2011. The RSI has trended downwards. We can each and every single bull market, we see these trend lines here, these green trend lines, where Bitcoin goes parabolic. It goes almost vertical, and up until the very tippy top of the bull market, this is when this trend line is being respected. Then the RSI breaks it, bull market ensues. You see this right here. We saw it right here during the prior bull market, and now we are seeing what I believe to be the same thing right here. Bitcoin is getting very, very close to it. Again, I want to get across that I'm not trying to say that this will be held, although I think it's more likely than not to be held. And again, for all intents and purposes, it could totally, completely break through this, and Bitcoin can continue to go lower, even, over 50%, breaking the 20 to 40% rule that Bitcoin has showcased up until this current point in time. But for as of right now, I just don't think that's most likely. I think it's totally possible, especially if Bitcoin goes down to around like 40 to 43,000, that the RSI briefly goes below this this current trend line, maybe something similar to like along these lines, where it just tests this 1.6 right here and then continues to go higher towards the upside. That was really all that I wanted to go over in this video. So as always, hopefully you all enjoyed and found something useful out of this in an educational sense. None of this is meant to be financial advice, but everything being said and all gone over, I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Now won't die, see you forever, such a long